Have you ever looked up into a summer sky and dreamed about flying in an airplane?
Yeah.
Sooner or later, you'll see one flying overhead.
There's one now.
But have you ever looked way up and seen those white lines shooting across the sky? They look like skinny clouds, but they're actually vapor trails left by big jet planes flying over 8 miles high.
What's it like to fly in one of those big planes?
Let's find out. Would you like to go on a big plane trip?
Yeah! Welcome to the big plane trip.
Hey, we can't fly on that plane.
Do you want to see a real one?
Yeah!
We start our trip at Hartsfield Airport in Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow, look at all those planes.
It's a very busy airport. Over 1,900 flights come and go every day, carrying over 47 million people a year.
Where are they all going?
This plane has just arrived full of people from Brussels, Belgium. Some are taking business trips. Some are coming to visit friends and families. Another big plane has arrived from Frankfurt, Germany. This one is just pulling up its landing gear on its way to San Francisco, California. Every day and every night, thousands of planes full of people fly to different places all over the world.
Where's our plane?
There it is now. It's a McDonnell Douglas MD-11 just arriving from Zurich, Switzerland after a 9-hour flight.
Wow, that's a big plane.
This MD-11 is over 200 feet long and holds 236 passengers. It can also carry almost 20 tons of cargo. It has 3 engines, one on each wing and a third on the tail. They're more powerful than 300 school buses. You can recognize the MD-11 because it has winglets on the tip of each wing. They help the plane fly better and use less fuel. Here comes our plane to the gate. Everyone on the ground crew gets ready. There's a lot of work to do. Even though our plane has just come all the way from Switzerland, it's getting ready to go right back again with a whole new crew and a whole new plane load of passengers. People wait at the arrival gate to welcome the passengers and greet their friends and families. As soon as the plane stops, the ground crew begins to unload cargo and baggage. Everyone on the team has a certain job to do, and they all work very quickly to get the plane ready for our trip. The ground crew can get this big plane ready to go in only about 1 hour.
It sure takes a lot of people to get a big plane ready.
The cleaning crew cleans up the inside and puts fresh blankets and pillows on board.
What happens to the old ones?
They come here to the airline laundry, where they're washed and made just like new. Okay, it's time to check in at the ticket counter. The agent checks passengers' baggage and gives them a seat number. It's an international flight, so all passengers have to show their passports.
What's SR 121?
That's our flight number, Swiss Air flight number 121. You'll be seeing that a lot.
Shannon?
Our pilots, Captain Max Annan and First Officer Conti, go over their route for the latest weather reports along the way.
Where are we going?
We are going to Switzerland. The pilots have planned the quickest route that will take us from Atlanta past Washington and New York, then on past Halifax, Nova Scotia, and across the Atlantic Ocean to Europe. We'll fly past Paris and land in Switzerland at the Zurich airport. We'll fly at about 600 miles an hour. Our trip will take us over 4,700 miles and last 8.5 hours.
A trip like that must use a lot of gas.
The pilots calculate the amount of fuel they need for the trip. They always take more than they need for safety to account for delays and bad weather.
Okay. It is 80 tons block fuel.
80 block.
Then the operations manager calls in the order to the fuel truck.
Block fuel is 80.0.
The ground crew gets ready to pump fuel into the wing of the plane.
It's just like a gas station.
Yes, only a jet uses kerosene instead of gasoline, and it uses a lot more. Our crew has ordered 80 tons of fuel. That's over 24,000 gallons, enough to fill over 200 tractor-trailer trucks.
Boy, there's a lot for pilots to know.
It takes many years of work and study to become an international airline captain. And pilots have to keep learning new things all the time. They use computer programs, like this one for the MD-11. And every 6 months they do this.
Fly an airplane?
No, fly a simulator. It's like a giant video game with an airplane cockpit. And it's exactly like flying a real airplane, only it never leaves the ground.
Wow, I'd like to play on one of those.
Well, simulators are not games. Pilots use them to learn how to safely handle emergencies in bad weather, situations that would be too dangerous to practice in a real airplane. Time to go! The flight crew now must go through the security station and on toward the plane. Their carry-on bags are x-rayed, just like those of the passengers. When they get to the gate, some passengers are already there. The captain says hello to the gate agent and checks to see if there are any late arriving passengers or baggage.
What language are they speaking?
Now they're speaking German. Our captain speaks 4 different languages. He walks down the jetway to the airplane. The plane is now all clean, and the flight attendants are already on board preparing the galleys.
Cool, look at that cockpit.
Meanwhile, passengers for our flight arrive from all over the country. Their bags are taken and logged into the baggage computer.
How do they know which bags are which?
Each bag has a tag on it with a special computer code which tells whose it is and where it's going. This bag is going on our flight to Zurich. After the bags are logged in, they're put in big cargo containers.
Hey, what's the captain doing?
He's doing his walk around. That's where he does a quick check of all the plane to make sure that all the different parts are in good shape. The fuselage, the landing gear, the wings, the engines. An engineer has already done a complete check when the plane came in. The captain speaks with him to double check and make sure our plane is ready for takeoff.
What if they have to fix the plane?
Ground engineers can make small repairs at the gate. But when a plane has flown a certain number of hours, it comes here, to the airline maintenance center, where a whole team of people go over every inch of the plane to make it just like new.
They even take out the seats?
Yes, they take everything apart and rebuild it. They put in new instruments and controls and do safety checks.
It takes a lot of people to work on a big plane.
The maintenance team helps make airlines a safe way to travel. The Indy 11 has a real modern cockpit. Instead of gauges and dials, it has computer screens. The captain inputs the flight plan into the plane's computer. It will also go into 2 other backup computers. This information will direct the plane on our flight to Switzerland. Everyone in the cabin works together to make it ready for the passengers. Luggage and cargo is loaded onto the plane, along with 24,000 gallons of fuel. That's fresh corn from Georgia farms on its way to Switzerland.
Wow, that's a lot of cargo.
The people in the control tower are another important part of the airport team. They watch over all the planes coming and going. And they tell the pilots what runway to use for takeoff and what radio channels they should listen to.
Swiss Air 121 Heavy Atlanta 3 delivery cleared to the Zurich Airport via the Atlanta 3 departure as filed. Maintain 10,000.
Departure frequency 125.0, squawk 3173, and east 1 vector, and you have November.
After more than 1 hour, the fueling is complete. 80 tons of fuel.
Don't forget to put the cap back on.
Final preparations are made before the passengers come on board. Flight attendants direct passengers to their seats. People on international flights are from different countries, so the flight attendants must know many languages. Listen.
Grüß Gott, wohl. Jawohl, Sie wären da oben. Grüß Gott, wohl. Jawohl, auf der rechten Seite. Grüß Gott, wohl. Ist durch die Küche auf die rechte Seite, bitte. Hallo, welcome aboard. Straight on your right-hand side, please.
Babies get special attention.
Check. Okay, the windows.
The crew goes through their checklist for safety. The flight attendant tells the pilots that all passengers are on board. Last-minute bags are loaded on a conveyor. The pilot receives the load sheet on the telex. It tells the weight of the plane and the number of passengers. Flight attendants check for passengers who need special meals.
Put on your seatbelts.
Final checklists are complete.
Check. The doors. The cargo center is still open.
A computer screen shows the plane's doors being closed for takeoff. The ground crew stands by for pushback.
Air 121, you're clear now, sir.
The ground crew uses a powerful tug to push back the plane.
Okay, start all engines, please. Bye-bye.
When the plane is safely away from the gate, the first officer starts the engines, one at a time. Right now, with all the fuel and baggage, our plane weighs 253 tons.
The left side, hold behind Tango 8 for just a minute.
Engines are running the main. Remove the equipment. Thank you very much. And have a nice day. Thank you.
The pilots check out all of the plane's controls.
Check.
That screen shows the parts that move.
Hold the signal and then you're ready for taxi.
Received.
Swiss Air 121, left side, point 9, you have a good flight.
To 1.9, goodbye, Swiss Air 121.
Today's flight has 201 passengers and 14 crew members. In the cargo compartment, there is 17 tons of cargo, including 429 suitcases, 7 baby strollers, 86 bushels of fresh Georgia corn, 26 cases of industrial machine parts, and 3 crates of live salamanders.
Live salamanders?
If we have a major malfunction before, we
The pilots go over safety procedures in case of emergency. There is lots to think about when you're flying a big plane. Let's watch and listen to the takeoff.
96.
Alright, see, 51 ready on 8.
Swiss Air 121 Heavy, runway 9 left at the middle marker, turn right heading 095, clear for takeoff.
Swiss Air 11 Heavy, clear for takeoff.
Swiss Air 121 Heavy, contact departure 119.3. Good night.
We begin our climb to our initial altitude of 29,000 feet. The plane radios a signal of our position to air traffic control.
Swiss Air 121 Heavy, contact Atlanta Center, on 124.45. So
The crew turns on the autopilot, the computer that will navigate the plane according to the captain's instructions.
Swiss Air 121 Heavy, turn right heading 090. Right heading 090, Swiss Air 121 Heavy.
We're on our way over the mountains of North Carolina. We'll soon pass Charlotte, Greensboro, Richmond, and then Washington, D.C. First, the passengers get drinks and snacks. A computer screen in the cabin shows our route in different languages. Can you tell which one that is? We are now at our cruising altitude of 33,000 feet, flying over Virginia. If you were on the ground looking up, this is what our plane would look like. Soon, it will be nighttime. The captain keeps a lookout on the horizon while the first officer checks the instruments.
How do they know where they're going once it gets dark?
Pilots rely on instruments to make sure they are on course and following the proper flight plan. First-class passengers have seats that turn into beds, and they even have their own stereos and video screens.
That looks like fun.
On our flight, there's plenty to eat. Dinner starts with rolls, hot from the oven.
Where do they make those?
Airlines make all their food ahead of time in their flight kitchens, like this one at the Zurich airport.
That's a lot of food.
They make over 21,000 meals here every day.
Grilled salmon.
Is that a cake?
Yes, a big one.
Chocolate.
Yes, they make them right here from scratch.
That's a lot of vegetables.
While the passengers eat dinner, up in the cockpit, we get to see the lights of New York City. If you look carefully, you can see the George Washington Bridge.
What are the dark areas?
That's water, the Hudson River, New York Harbor, and the Atlantic Ocean. We're now passing Boston. In a little while, we'll leave land behind and head out over the Atlantic Ocean. It's getting quiet in the cabin. Many passengers sleep, but some watch movies or listen to music. Flight attendants still have lots to do.
How do you become a flight attendant?
It looks very glamorous, but it takes hard work and discipline to become an airline flight attendant. Their main job is the safety of the passengers, so they attend a special school to learn how to use different pieces of safety equipment. They also practice what to do in case of an emergency.
Wow, there's lots of jobs to do on a big plane.
We fly through the night at 600 miles an hour across the Atlantic Ocean. The sun's coming up, and we've been flying now for over 6 hours. We're now over the coast of France.
It's time for breakfast.
Even the pilots get coffee in the morning. As we approach Europe, there are heavy clouds.
Is that bad weather ahead?
Yes, it looks like heavy clouds below, but there's nothing to worry about. The captain calls up for a weather report for the Zurich airport and gets a telex of the latest information. The cockpit radar shows heavy clouds ahead. The red areas have the heaviest weather. Passengers wake up and eat breakfast.
Look at those clouds. I can't see the ground. How can the pilots land the plane?
There is heavy fog in Zurich, So the pilots decide to use auto landing, where the automatic pilot will guide the plane. So the pilots will have more time to monitor the weather and the instruments.
Does the autopilot take over?
Not really. The autopilot does the landing, but the pilots do the thinking. This is Zurich Air Traffic Control. They now give us clearance to land.
They're speaking English.
Yes, English is the official language of international aviation.
Look, we're heading into the clouds.
When we enter the clouds, the pilots can't see anything.
Well, how do they land the plane?
Pilots don't rely on just what they see out the window. They have thousands of hours of instrument flying, and they monitor the autopilot to keep them right on course.
300.
A voice in the cockpit tells the pilots their altitude.
Look, there's the runway.
Right on target. The ND-11 lands at about 180 miles an hour. As soon as the plane is on the runway, the pilot reverses the engines and puts on the air brakes. They're the flaps that stick up from the top of the wings. We must leave the runway quickly because the tower has given clearance to another plane landing right behind us.
Wow, look at that big plane.
That's a 4-engine double-decker plane. What kind of plane is it? And right after that, another plane lands. And then another.
Wow, this is also a very busy airport.
Welcome to Zurich, Switzerland. Our trip took us over 4,700 miles in 8.5 hours. The Zurich Tower directs us to our gate. It's 10:30 in the morning Zurich time. The pilot has to steer the big plane toward the terminal. He uses a small steering wheel to guide the plane right along the painted line to the gate. As the plane comes to a stop, the ground crew in Zurich gets ready and the work starts all over again. Cargo and bags are unloaded, and fresh food is loaded onto the plane. The pilots and crew now get to go to their homes. For them, it's been a long day at work. But in a few days, they'll be up flying again. Bags are taken underground to the baggage area by tractor trains. Here, there are special conveyors that sort bags with lasers.
like the supermarket checkout.
Right. These bags are going out to planes at other gates. Bags from our flight go up to the carousel for passengers to pick up. Certain items get special handling. Do you know what's in that big case? It sounds like this. Before passengers get their bags, they go through customs. Some are returning home, but for us, the visit is just beginning. Switzerland is a beautiful country surrounded by tall mountains, and even in the summer, there is snow on some of the tall peaks.
Hey, where are we?
Sometimes the mountains are so steep, a train is the best way to travel. This is a cock railway, the steepest in the world. But Switzerland is famous for more than trains. It's also famous for chocolate. The Swiss make some of the world's best chocolate. They even have a chocolate museum. Here's a quick look at the country where we landed.
Hey, I recognize that plane.
That's the plane that brought us here. And these are some of the people who made our big plane trip possible. And remember, wherever you are, you can look up at the sky and dream about flying in an airplane. And if you see one of those skinny white lines shooting across the blue, wave to them. They're people taking a big plane trip. Stay tuned. After the credits, there's a whole bonus section on the sights and sounds of Switzerland.
drüben da von dem Turm. Het gaat weer om Kurve rum.